Hi, this is Timothy Zahn, author of Thrawn, and you're listening to Star Wars Reactions. Good for you.
There's been an awakening. Have you felt it?
In 1977, George Lucas formed a legacy.
The Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
Inspired by mythology, his saga has become a passion for many.
Feel the Force around you.
His legend has become our story.
It's true. All of it.
One of resistance,
We are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down.
rebellion,
Rebellion is built on hope.
and redemption.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
This is Star Wars Reactions.
Remember, the Force will be with you. Always.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Star Wars Reactions. We got a show for you, that's for sure. This is a show we have been waiting to do for a long time. And we're going to do it now. So let's get the introductions out of the way. The person currently word vomiting on you, and we'll be doing that the rest of the show. My name is Aaron Harris, and joining me is the man that's going to clean up my word vomit. He's my co-host, the man with the most, the David Motters. David, brother, how you doing?
Really, really good. I, of course, am very ready to react to these two episodes. Like you said, we've been doing a big build-up to the Ahsoka series, and here we are. We've got two really, really fun episodes to cover. I will do my best to help Aaron stay on track during this recording, but just understand this is big stuff for us because of all the stuff with the Rebels, Aaron's absolute love of Chopper, and so on. So it's just be patient with us. I'm super excited too. So we're ready, right, buddy?
We are ready. So let's get the ball rolling. As we said, we are reviewing the series premiere, the first two episodes of Ahsoka. A first episode was entitled Master and Apprentice, written by Dave Filoni for President, directed by Dave Filoni for President. The second episode, Toil and Trouble, written by Dave Filoni for President. And actually at this point it should be Dave Filoni for Emperor of the Galaxy, and directed by Steph Green. Of course, Master and Apprentice is the first episode. Brief synopsis of that: a valuable prisoner escapes New Republic custody, and a search for answers reunites two old friends. And of course, Toil and Trouble: Ahsoka and General Syndulla travel to the New Republic shipyards on Corellia and make an unexpected discovery. Bum, bum, bum. And of course, those are just brief synopsises. These aren't David's, novel length synopsises. But I'm sure those will come back. But since we're double episode and a lot to cover, we kept them short and sweet this week. So let's kick this off, David. I'm going to leave the floor for you first.
Okay.
Go ahead and kick off with your initial reactions to this 2-episode premiere.
All right. No, I listen, I was flat out really impressed. From the story to special effects to bringing more Rebels animated characters to live action. I was seriously blown away. It really was. And look, unlike Mando season 2 and season 3, and even the Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan, I really felt like I didn't notice the volume, like that curved volume, stagecraft where they film a lot of this stuff. I didn't feel like I didn't notice it. I noticed it a little bit, but I felt like they did a better job of hiding it. And I very much wanted that for this series. Why? Because I wanted it to feel more epic, and I didn't want it to be confined to a round visual stage. We've all seen it. Aaron and I have covered this on Disney Gallery. Several Disney Gallery episodes we have recorded covering that series. And so, I wanted to feel epic, and it did feel more epic. Again, this isn't up to the level of movies and going to some of the places they've gone to, but I thought it felt more epic. I love that. And I feel like Star Wars, it needs to be more epic, especially without movies on the big screen, right, at this time. And so I'll leave it at that, because I know Aaron has a lot to say, but I was really impressed, and I'm not just sitting here, just trying to be happy about it. I really, really enjoyed it. How about you, buddy?
Okay. Let's put it like this. Have you ever gone on a trip and it was the best trip you've ever been on?
Yes.
And then that trip was over, and all you had were the pictures to remind you of that trip. And the memories are great memories. The photos bring back wonderful memories, but it just doesn't feel the same. Then you go on another trip to the same place, and it reawakens all those memories and re-energizes you and revitalizes you and makes you feel like you did when you were on that trip before. Have you ever had that happen? That's what this show did for me, to be perfectly honest. Sitting down and watching, if you know me, if you've listened to the show for at least even one episode, you know how much I love and how much Rebels means to me. It is a show that I can literally say changed my fandom. It changed my outlook at the saga, and it literally changed my life. I can honestly say that. I would not be sitting behind this mic right now with David if it was not for Star Wars Rebels. It means the world to me. And I am somebody who sits down and watches Rebels twice a year. Straight through. I do a series rewatch twice a year. In the first half and the second half. And so I'm well versed on Rebels. I know it quite well. And watching the series, I love the series. I breathe the series. And it's still not the same as watching it for the first time. There's that one element that's missing. And watching these 2 episodes of Ahsoka, I found that element again. I literally can tell you I felt like I came home. And it made me, I'm not going to lie, it made me cry. It was probably, it's not probably, it was the most emotional I've ever gotten watching something. Well, take that back. Second, it's right up there with the episode Jedi Knight when Kanan died. And I cannot put into words how this made me feel, how these episodes made me feel, how this premiere made me feel, how much joy I had, how much happiness, how much excitement and just pure euphoria I felt watching characters that mean so much to me, like Sabine, like Hera, Chopper, the Phantom, Ryder Azari, Jaikel, all these characters that I love come to life in live action. I can't, and I need to go ahead and apologize to David and to everybody right now, because if you were to see our show notes, and I probably should post a picture of them, where my notes are supposed to be, literally it says, I can't make a coherent sentence. I'm going to shoot off the cuff because I cannot compose my thoughts about what I've seen and what we experienced, because for me it was that perfect and it was that wonderful, and it was I think I posted it on a non-spoiler Coffee with Kenobi post. It was everything I hoped for and so much more. And that's just it. That's what it was. And I can't begin to go beyond that right now because I can't compose my thoughts. I mean, I'm even tearing up right now just thinking about it. It's messed me up, man. It really has.
Well, I thought you did a great job, man. And I think, at the beginning when people heard me say, I'm so excited about this. Like I love Rebels. I'm not at the level of Aaron, because Aaron's like next level, and I've seen it since I've known Aaron, and we really came together and started podcasting on Rebels reactions and stuff like that, and so it has such a history for us, and the kind of like what our listeners, if you heard Aaron say, like coming home, I think what gets you excited, what makes you feel like home. For me, I get excited when Aaron's excited about something. I know he gets excited when I'm excited about stuff too. And so just knowing going into Ahsoka, how excited Aaron was, I was pumped. And then after seeing the 2 episodes, I really, I knew Aaron would love them, and I do too. And so I'm excited. That gets me excited, right? When other people are excited, especially when you are, buddy. I love it.
Yeah. So it does. And like I said, I'm going to apologize now for all the word vomit that's about to spew out of my mouth as I just gush over everything as we go through our talking points and everything, because literally that's what I've been doing for the last 48 hours since it premiered, is just gushing and word vomiting everywhere. I was in the office because my day job has me in the office 2 days a week now. And my old, not my current manager, my old manager came and found me because he knew how much I like Star Wars. And he came up, he goes, "Hey," and he's a fan. He's a casual fan. He's like, "Hey, I heard that Ahsoka series was on. What'd you think?" Which probably was the worst mistake he made today, because I then proceeded to word vomit all over him multiple times and gushed, and to the point where he's like, "All right, well, I am officially going home now, and I'm going to watch both episodes because you've made it sound too good to be true." And I probably did, but it is, in my book, too good to be true. I still have a hard time believing I watched this happen. And I think the biggest, when it started, it didn't true. And I need to go ahead and say that I when the episode started and it had that scroll and then the big ship comes in, just kind of mirroring like the opening of all the movies, the scroll and then the ship comes into the screen, which I thought was a absolutely phenomenal nod to the saga as a whole. Then we had that tremendous opening scene, which was awesome to see. But when we finally got to it went to Lothal, and we started to see Lothal in all of its post-war glory, like we saw at the end in the series finale, of Rebels. That's when I broke, because that's when I realized. And the thing is, I knew from the trailer we were going to be on Lothal. We saw it. We saw it in the teasers. We saw it in the trailers, in the clip releases. We saw Lothal. I saw it. But when I finally really saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw the outline of the city as we're coming in. Then Sabine racing down the street that we saw Ezra racing down in the first episode of Rebels. The tower where Ezra lived, which is now Sabine's home. Seeing all of that made it, I mean, that's what hit me. And that's what, I mean, honestly, I can say that's what broke me. That's what made me feel home and brought me to the point of just so pure joy I broke.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I love you, Dave Filoni.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'll just piggyback on what you're saying and what I mentioned in my initial reactions about this feeling so much more epic than the other series. I'll give some examples. One is Lothal, like Aaron said, when Ahsoka's ship flies over Sabine's home, which used to be Ezra's, with some X-wings, I'm like Aaron said, I'm just like, holy crap, and it looks gorgeous, and then when you see, like Aaron mentioned, Ryder Azadi, and they're in Lothal and showing a higher up view and lower views, and then later on, and at the end of the first episode, when Ahsoka and Huyang pull Ahsoka's ship around and out of the city and out that long kind of runway that, you know, Sabine rides her speeder bike all the way out. And of course, we saw it many times in Rebels, speeders going up and down that path. It's like this looks really, really good. This is not, you know, to me, you know, it's not in the volume. Now, again, they might fool me and say, hey, here's where we did all this stuff. But I mean, it looks so good. The other one, Aaron mentioned, the Phantom. When Ahsoka, no, forgive me. Yeah, when Ahsoka is fighting Morag on Corellia, right?
Yep.
And you see Hera get in with Chop. Like, keep your lid on, Chop. And when they take off, and that clip of the Phantom, I'm like, holy crap, that looks really, really good. Like episode 3 good, you know, like some of the shots of the ships and stuff. And so I mean, I was so impressed with the special effects. I know people might be like, why? They look better. They look more epic. And like Aaron said, Aaron and I have looked at the city of Lothal many times in Rebels, and to see how they made that into live action, like, holy mackerel, that I think it's there. I think I can go to Lothal. I was so impressed, buddy.
Oh, it was quite impressive, and it was just amazing, to put it plainly. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna struggle through this, getting through this review, because I am just so. Yeah, it's been, I mean, we're recording this on Thursday night. It was released Tuesday night. I have watched it multiple times, and I still am struggling to compose coherent thoughts in my head, because I try to get my thoughts together and on a certain thing, and next thing I know, I'm just giddy and grinning because I'm composing thoughts about that thing again, and I lose it. So this will probably be the most interesting episode you will ever hear from me, barring Chopper going on a killing spree in one of the next couple episodes, if that was to happen. But hey, you know, guys, a guy can hope. Let's just jump into our talking points, because we got a lot we want to talk about. One of the best things about this episode, well, besides Chopper and Hera and Sabine and of course Ahsoka, is they did a ton of Easter eggs and nods throughout this episode, which to me just was perfect. You could tell it was done intentionally. You could tell they they put things out there literally just to see if you would catch it. And to me, that was incredible. And like some of the ones, like we already talked about, like Ryder Azari showing up, and then of course introducing Senator Jai Kell, of course, also from Rebels. Absolutely awesome. Then we see things like, and to me, probably one of the biggest nods was Hera's command ship.
Oh yeah.
Home One.
Home One.
Home One. For those of you that, and I talked to a couple people today at work who did not make the connection, but Home One is the Rebel command ship from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
That's where they met and went over the plans for the Death Star attack. That is where Akbar led the attack from. And it was incredible to have that ship still going in Rebels, and it being Hera's command ship.
Yeah.
Mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah. No, that was super cool. You know, I was going to say to you, like when you think about this, and you know, Aaron and I do the notes together, as we mentioned before. I'll put stuff in, he puts stuff in. Something that I was doing was, I did mention that, you know, there's lots of Easter eggs, and, you know, and I thought about this, and it was one of the things I was mentioning about accessibility. I keep wondering, you know, Aaron and I are super fans of Rebels, as most listeners of this podcast probably are, and there's a lot of people who just absolutely love it and know the series forwards and backwards. But I was thinking to myself, the way that Filoni did it, you don't have to know that Ryder Azadi was the governor of Lothal, you know, and has Clancy Brown, the voice actor who brought Ryder Azadi to life, play Ryder Azadi in live action. You don't need to know that Jai Kell was in Rebels. You're like, okay, here's, you know, here's Lothal, and it's recovered, and there's Heroes of the Rebellion, and I just thought about it. I thought if you watch this, you can figure out who's good, who's bad, kind of who's in the middle pretty quickly, and you don't. At least in my thoughts, you don't have to have watched Rebels, but if you have, when the Easter eggs pop up, it's just such a great little piece of nostalgia, or just fun, and literally Dave Filoni just like winking at us, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. He's good at that. And, you know, there's going to be stuff like that. I got a feeling in every episode, we'll have these little nods and little things that he's probably just sitting back going, waiting for somebody to catch it and talk about it. And I'm sure there's stuff even hidden even deeper in that he has hid so well, but is in such plain sight that people won't, there's a good chance people will miss. And I love those types of things. Filoni's notorious for that, just putting in little things to see if people catch it. And I love that. Like, I mean, bringing in Hugh Wang.
Yeah.
I mean, back. I mean, and having David Tennant do the voice again. I mean, that was. I mean, for those of you that don't recognize the droid, that Hugh Wang is from the Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
He was the Jedi. He was the droid that helped the Jedi, or the Padawans and the younglings, build their lightsabers. I mean, and we see him in episodes of the Clone Wars, and tremendous episodes too. Those were fun episodes. But now he is riding shotgun with Ahsoka. How did he? I mean, that brings me to my question. How did he survive?
Yeah.
Order 66. I mean, granted, he's not a Jedi, but he is very much a Jedi. He's one of the droid Jedi. So, well, not droid Jedis, but it's quite interesting.
Well, like you said, Ahsoka asked him to examine those lightsaber hilts, and I'm sure the Empire didn't want him around to be able to do that, or the knowledge he has. I guess on the one hand, it might be helpful. On the other hand, like you said, I'm sure he went into deep hiding real fast to, because I'm sure, he was in the Jedi archives as being, a droid that helps younglings. And I'm sure they would like to either take that data from him or dismantle him, or take the data then dismantle him. Yeah. So, yeah.
Absolutely. It's definitely one of those characters that I will say did catch me by surprise. I did not honestly expect to see him again, to be honest. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Also, you want to know what's interesting?
What?
Of course, we know from Rebels, from the season finale of Rebels, that Dave Filoni does the voice of Chopper. They never put who does the voice of Chopper in the credits.
Right.
So who's doing the voice of Chopper? Is it still Dave?
Oh! I didn't even look. I've watched.
Oh, trust me, I scanned those.
So they just Chopper as himself, like they did.
No, they don't even list Chopper.
Okay, they don't even list him. So it's probably
Don't
Dave.
even list him. I got a feeling it's still Dave. I don't see Dave giving that up. He had too much fun doing it.
That's too fun.
Yeah. So, all right, let's keep going. We got a lot to talk about. Actually, yeah, let's keep going. Do another talk point. I want to talk about that opening sequence of the first episode. I hit on it a little bit earlier in our discussion when we talked about how they open the episode up, the series up, just like you would if you're watching a movie. You have that scrolling description of what's going on and where we are in the galaxy. Then it cuts to, once it clears, you cuts to this giant ship coming in from the screen and just flying through, and very reminiscent of A New Hope and all the movies really that opened with that scroll and ship coming in. But then this is also when we get to meet two of our antagonists of the series. At this point, we meet Baylan Skoll, played by the late Ray Stevenson, and oh gosh, I just blanked on her name.
Shin Hati.
Shin Hati. Sorry, Shin Hati. I'm sitting there scrolling through my head. I'm like, I know this name. But
Look,
Shin Hati, the paddle.
I got you the whole episode, buddy.
Good. So because I'm going to Carabast a lot. I already have. I just haven't said it.
I'm helping.
But that opening sequence, holy smokes! They come in pretending to be Jedi, and of course the captain knows they're not Jedi. Doesn't buy it at all. Even goes, "You're not Jedi," and calls them out. And next thing you know, Shin Hati has sliced up the security squad and is heading out the door of the hangar. And Baylan Skoll's got the captain, in a force choke type thing, and then runs him through with a lightsaber and goes, "We're no Jedi." Which, of course, is exactly what Ahsoka says in Rebels.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, gosh, just another nod right there. Another little Easter egg nod. But then to see them go through that ship and basically just wreak havoc. And we come to find out later they basically destroyed the ship. All to rescue Morgan Elsbeth, of course, is who the governor lady that was it magistrate or governor?
Magistrate.
Magistrate.
Corvus.
Yes, Magistrate of Corvus, who, of course, Ahsoka captured with the help of Mando in season 2.
Mm-hmm.
What were your thoughts on that opening sequence and that opening scene?
Oh, I thought it was just awesome, man. Just seeing their ship fly into the hangar, I'm like, holy crow! It's like movie quality, right? And then, something that I think I didn't realize. I know the first time I watched it, Aaron, I was like looking everywhere, trying to take everything in. I was like, why is it that Ahsoka and Huyang are looking over to the left when they're pulling up next to Home One? And then I'm like, wait, second time I watched it, I'm like, oh, I know why, because they decimated that ship. I mean, it's tilting to the side. There's debris flying everywhere. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. Man, second viewing, I'm taking more in, and they just went roughshod over that whole ship. And I think for me too, it was interesting, as it culminates, Aaron, with Baylan Skoll asking Morgan Elsbeth, about Ahsoka Tano and stuff, who's the Jedi, and she admits to, well, I guess a little bit later on, letting her know where the map was, and then it got my mind whirling. I'm like, well, wait a minute, back in Mando season 2, what did Ahsoka do? Again, I'm no Jedi, and she even tells Huyang she, used some, I guess, aggressive negotiations in essence to get her to spill the beans. And you just wonder if a little bit of Morgan Elsbeth is a little bit of Thrawn-esque in terms of him rubbing off on her, because I'm like, man, I wonder if she had Ahsoka go find it and get it, for her. Maybe not. You get the map, you open it up, and then I'll get it. Kind of one of those kind of things. It seemed kind of Thrawn-esque, but those are just some of my thoughts on that opening scene. I love seeing the orange lightsabers and those guys running roughshod. A real strong start to the series in the episode.
Yes, it was a fabulous opening scene, and it was a great introduction, I think, to Hera Syndulla, who we meet in that opening sequence as well. And as they're walking through the hangar deck to leave the hangar area, you get just a partial glimpse of the ghost. Did you see it?
Oh my God.
Barely. I mean, it's just like a second or two. And the thing is, you can't, unless you know the ghost, you don't recognize it. You just think it's a ship. But I know the ghost. And I know the ghost when I see the ghost. And that was the ghost.
Okay. I was wondering where it was, I mean, obviously Filoni didn't pull it out in this, he has them on the Hare and Chopper on the film right now, but all right, good. All right. I'm glad. So, okay. Little tiny Easter egg right there.
Yep.
Okay.
It's right there. So, all right. So we got so much more to talk about, and we are going to keep going. But before we do need to take a real quick break, and we will be right back talking more Ahsoka. Welcome back, everybody. Aaron and David here. We are continuing our discussion. Discussion, word vomit, whatever you want to say. David's discussing, I'm word vomiting all over Ahsoka. So let's keep moving. We got a lot of talking points we want to go through. There are a lot of things that we talk about. Let's. And I like you. I love you put this in here, and we kind of hit on it or already. But the special effects in these two episodes are beyond anything I ever expected to see in a live action show. Just between the sets, there's obvious CGI throughout this whole episode, but you really cannot tell what's real and what's not, what's background animation, what's green screen. You cannot tell, because they have done such a incredible job getting this done. It is so it is cinematically extravagant.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just a nod to the work that Filoni and Favreau and their teams put into this.
So let me, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I've already been I've been gushing about these special effects and how it does seem more cinematic. It's more epic. I get a sense, and you and I have talked about this a little bit off air. Is this is really maybe one of the first series to kind of maybe really. Gosh, I know they were filming last year in 2022, and I remember the actors came to Star Wars Celebration and stuff, and we got to meet them for the first time. Sabine, the Natasha Lee Bordizzo, who plays her. But I guess I'm bringing this up to say that it feels like COVID didn't affect this as much as, say, Obi-Wan or other series. But when I think about Mando season 3, and I look at this, I wonder, and I was going to ask you this, Aaron, do you feel like they spent more money on these 2 episodes than, say, maybe some of those other episodes? That's what it seems like. I mean, to look this good,
Mm-hmm.
all the things I've mentioned, the Phantom, Lothal, gosh, when I haven't even brought up when Hera and Ahsoka are on the back of that transport going through one of the shipyards at Corellia, and just that scene, the lift up, the Phantom flying behind that large ship and that super large hyperdrive, that scene and that thing firing back at the Phantom, and even some of the distance shots, boom, 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 boom. I'm like, this is incredible, man. Mm-hmm. But you get a sense they just, and maybe, I don't know, we'll see with these next 6 episodes, but I get a sense they spent more money.
Yeah, I can get that. I mean, if you look at how the series is classified, I mean, looking at IMDb, it's not classified as a series. It's classified as a mini series. So it gives you the impression that we're not going to get future seasons or anything, which is usually what a mini series is. But what's cool about that is that then opens them up for larger spending and stuff like that. So it is very well. I mean, it's not surprising to have shows in the past where you have spent a little bit more on one episode and compensated for it in a different episode. So I definitely can see that as being the case. But we won't know for sure till we watch the rest of the season. But I truly think that we're going to end up seeing this type of quality throughout the whole series. I don't think Dave is going to cheap out on it. And something else to keep in mind too, unlike Andor, unlike Kenobi, there were a lot of location shots on those shows. They went out to actual locations and built sets. As of now, we have not been made aware of any on location shooting for this series, which means everything is in a controlled studio environment, which they can control the quality of better. They can control the lighting better. They could control everything better because it is in that controlled studio environment. I mean, even looking at these episodes, these 2, I mean, granted, we've only seen these 2, but I can't recall. I mean, I'm going off memory but I don't recall a scene in either of these episodes that I could say was shot outside of a studio.
Right. I agree with you on that. And then if you're not filming on location like Andor, which some of this was beautiful, then maybe they put more money into, some of the rendering of like the Phantom. Again, I was so impressed when that thing takes off. I'm like, that's the Phantom. It's real. It's not a CGI model. Oh my God, it's so maybe so. I mean, they, again, last year, May to October, they filmed there in Manhattan Beach on the volume. But like I'm saying to you, like, like I'll give you an example, a clip. Like at the end of the second episode, you see Baylan Skull talking to Shin Hati, and she's like, "Hey, what's in this for us?" And he says, "For some war, for some a new beginning, and power unimaginable." And then he looks up in the sky, and you can hear one of the Purrgil, and you just get a little slight glimpse, right? Again, little Easter egg, if you want to say that, kind of, sort of. But we all know the sound of them and looking up. But like, I'm guessing that was done in the volume, right? They can put that up there. But the way that it was done, it was just this real quick shot, and they didn't linger on it. And I'm like, I think that's the volume. It probably is, but it just looks better than, say, sometimes some of the shots I've seen in Mando 1, 2, and 3, where I'm like, yeah, I can tell they're standing there and there's the volume. So there's an example to me of, like, I don't know, maybe again, these guys at ILM, they're working every day on improving these things. And I know those guys, those men and women with their eyes, they're like, we want to have these backdrops and people not know that doggone thing is there.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And they did a phenomenal job of doing that in these episodes. And I think once the series is over and we start getting these behind the scenes of Ahsoka series, I'm sure we'll get it. If we don't get a Disney Gallery series on this, I'm going to be insane. But I think we'll see more of how it's been improved. Now that we've seen it visually, we'll get to see how they improved it physically. And I think it's going to be, I think we're in for a surprise when that finally happens.
Yeah.
Now, some of the other special effects that we see in this, and that we see quite a bit in this first episode, and we see it some in the second episode as well, is the wildlife. Those loath cats, man.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. Sabine's loath cat is just wicked. The droids, the assassin droids, the HK assassin droids. Holy smokes. I mean, these things are incredible to be live action, and I'm sure, we'll see some of these things will come up as, oh yeah, that was CGI'd, or this was animatronic, this was a puppet, but either way, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the loft cat, I mean, you and I've seen the one there at Galaxy's Edge, just laying there sleeping, all that you can hear it purring, but just the tail moves. But that Sabine's loft cat, I mean, I get a sense it's kind of like Grogu, where they have all the puppeteers there doing it, but then they're green screened out. But I like that they did it this way. And, when it hisses or gets mad, I love it. But then, obviously the sound effects, probably, David Acord, Matthew Wood, they use the loft cat, as I'm sure, like a sound mix that they've used in Rebels. And when the loft cat meows, it sounds just like it did, and I love that continuity. It doesn't sound different, but yeah, those were so cool looking. The HK droids look better than the ones that Mando and Ahsoka deal with in season 2 there, when we get introduced to live action Ahsoka. In that episode, they looked better. Yeah, I don't know, just even like when Ahsoka's there on Arcana, that first planet that's that we see her on, where she's getting the map, the star map. That looked really, really cool. in that set, very Indiana Jones esque in
Thank
there,
you.
and her finding the star map. So, yeah, and then how about this? When her and Sabine go onto the ship, and then the seats come up, and then the projector comes down from the top, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Just man, yeah, I can go on and on, but the speeder bikes, Sabine on the speeder bike, and the ships flying next to her, telling her to slow down and pull over. It's all like, holy, it's there, man. It's real.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm actually very curious. And I'm curious if it'll come up or if they'll put something out to confirm it. But the speeder bike Sabine uses is almost the spitting image, besides a paint change, of Kanan's speeder bike.
Oh,
I wonder if it is supposed to be just a repainted.
Yeah.
If it's just Kanan's bike that's repainted, because his was literally the exact same design.
Well, think about this. Huang, when he's talking to Sabine after she's recovered, says, "Oh, I see you have your own light, or you have a lightsaber." And she goes, "Yeah, it's Ezra." Well, with your own modification. So she's modified that. She's an artist, yeah. And as soon as you said that, I'm like, "Oh, wait, she's probably done that to keep Ezra close by, to keep Kanan." Now I hope that is his speeder bike.
Well, yeah, it goes with it would fit the theme that we had in Rebels, which was these people are a family. They're not blood related, but they're a family. And it would only be right for that to continue. Now they're all split up and they've all gone their separate ways. Kanan's dead. Ezra's missing. Hera's a general in the New Republic. Zeb is apparently a pilot in the New Republic. We see him in Mando. And Sabine was a Jedi apprentice, and now she's alone on Lothal. So you definitely would think she obviously is longing for that missing family. She has the hologram of Ezra. We see it. We have Ezra's lightsaber. She's living in Ezra's house.
Yeah.
His tower. It would make sense that the bike would be Kanan's.
Yeah, I'm
just makes sense
now. Yeah, you got me pumped, man. I hope it's his. Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's keep the ball rolling here, since we're talking about these characters. Let's actually talk about some of these characters that we have in here. We've been talking about Sabine, so let's just keep going on her on Sabine. This is a character, of course, originally created for Rebels, but Sabine, of course, being played by the incredibly talented Natasha Liu Bordizzo. I honestly feel she nailed the role.
Yeah, I really do. I think she's incredible, dude. She just, the mannerisms, the way she tilts her head, the way she tries to figure things out and be, creative like Sabine. Once again, I think about Dave Filoni when he said one of the best things he's ever done, perhaps the best thing he's ever done, is to hire Ashley Eckstein to do the voice of Ahsoka back in the day. And I look at this and the homework they did to get her. And I'm telling you, when her hair is long, I'm like, yeah, Sabine. When she cuts her hair, Sabine. Either way, I love it. I think she's great, and I love how she plays off Ahsoka. And I mentioned in our show notes, you really see Sabine crossing the threshold, a la Joseph Campbell's work when she cuts her hair like Kanan. And I thought about you, and we think about Kanan, cutting his hair. And so when she does that, I thought that was just really cool. And then to see them take off. You see Ahsoka say, "Take us out," and then when Sabine, blast them into hyperspace. I was like, yeah, buddy. So, anyways, yeah, I'm just really loving her character, and curious to learn more about whether is she force sensitive, is she not? The way that Huang talked, it sounded like he was kind of conveying, I've been working with Jedi, with younglings for 500 years, and you would be the lowest. So again, a low midichlorian count, or is this more, are you not like, say like Finn in the sequel trilogy, are you force sensitive or not? Or is it more Ahsoka is training you, because we do need people skilled in lightsaber combat. We don't have many Jedi left, or anybody that's force sensitive. But I don't know. What's your take on that? What do you think? Is she force sensitive like Ezra? Well, obviously Huang said no, not gifted in the force like Ezra. But what's your take?
Well, he said she's not the most. She's not gifted. He didn't say she doesn't have force sensitivity. He said she's not the most. She's not very. He goes, there's a lot of the Padawans he worked with. Even the worst Padawans he worked with were more force sensitive than she was. Is essentially what he was implying. Doesn't mean she doesn't have a force sensitivity, but it very well. She obviously had some force sensitivity, or else Ahsoka wouldn't have started to train her. I honestly even think Kanan maybe felt something when he was training her on the Darksaber.
That's what I'm thinking, yes.
And Rebels. So I think that was established that there is some level of force sensitivity with her, but it's just not as high as, for example, Ezra, or definitely Kanan, or Ahsoka, or some of the others. Yeah. So it definitely definitely Rey. There is some force sensitivity there, and I love the fact that you went into how she cut her hair at the end of this in this episode, because I watched it, and of course I immediately went to when Kanan cut his hair, and she literally does the same thing he does. The way, from the way she holds the knife, the way straight cut.
Yeah.
It's exactly what Kanan did when he cut his hair. And I actually went back and rewatched that scene.
Oh.
And because I was curious, because Dave made a point when he shot this episode, or when they shot this episode, they made a point to focus on that knife. I think it might have been the same knife that Kanan used.
Interesting. Okay.
Because if you go back and you watch that episode of Rebels, you never get a close up of the knife, but the shape of the blade, the bottom of the handle that you see coming out of Kanan's hand is awfully close to what we're looking at when they focus in on that knife when she cuts her hair.
See, now I got to go back and watch that. And here's another probable connection. Kanan's speeder bike, Kanan's knife. Oh my gosh. And now I want it to be the knife. I want it to be the same one.
I know. And this is one of those things that, being I'll admit, I'm a Rebels super fan. I have an issue. Hi, I'm Aaron, and I'm a Rebels super fan. It's been 12 hours since I watched an episode of Rebels. Literally. But it's incredible to have those connections. Let's keep moving. Let's talk about the return of Morgan Elsbeth. We see her, of course. We're introduced to her when we first see the live action Ahsoka back in Mando 2, the Magistrate, her connections to Thrawn. But then we learned so much more about her in these episodes. And I think the biggest thing that came out, which literally blindsided me, is she's a survivor of Dathomir.
Yes. Yes. I didn't see that coming.
Neither did I. That caught me totally off guard. I didn't even imagine that was a possibility, because trust me, Dooku was very thorough when he destroyed that planet and he destroyed those witches. Matter of fact, when we go back to Dathomir in Rebels, there are no witches there. There's just a spirit of the witches trying to get host bodies.
Yeah.
So it's really wow to have her be an Dathomir witch, and I love that she's right now she's the mastermind behind everything. She has the plan to get to Thrawn. She's the one calling the shots. And I love, as we learned in the next episode, in episode 2, and the second one, Toil and Trouble, that she has her fingers in everything. Apparently, she was a part of. She had operations on Corellia. She had operations all throughout the Empire, which were all supposedly shut down. But she still had her hand in things and was still getting stuff done, so she could rescue Thrawn, which we come to find out. She has tracked Thrawn to being exiled in a different galaxy.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
So much for the unknown regions, wild space. I mean, it's just, he's way out there then. Which then brings us to, where's Ezra? Is Ezra still out there with him in exile?
Right.
Is the Chimera still out there? I mean, where's the Chimera at that point? We obviously know Pelion is back because we saw him in Mando.
Right. And help me here, Aaron. Did I hear it correctly that Ahsoka this season is occurring at the same time as season 3 of The Mandalorian? Is that right, or am I wrong? Am I off on that?
We don't quite know yet.
Okay.
Because these 2 episodes
in
the timeline fall in the way this played out, and you don't realize where this falls in the timeline till the very end of the second episode. But episode 1 and episode 2 of Ahsoka fall in between the liberation of Lothal and the epilogue of Rebels. Because you remember Rebels ended with that epilogue that Sabine reads.
Right.
It telling where everybody went and where everybody was. And it ends with her standing in armor in front of the painting. She reaches up with that one finger and touches Ezra's face, then turns around, and there is Ahsoka cloaked in front of her shuttle. And the epilogue ends, and we got to find them. And that's how it ends.
Yeah. Yes.
And the second episode ends with her standing in front of that same painting in her armor, touching it. It was a recreation of that final scene of Rebels. So from here, now that that's happened, we got 6 episodes left in the series. These 6 episodes are taking place after that epilogue.
Yeah.
So, and we know that epilogue took place I'd have to go back and re-listen to it. Because I don't remember if it says, but we know it takes place sometime after the fall of the Empire.
Right. Yeah.
Because they talk about Hera taking care of Jason Syndulla, and being a general and being in the New Republic. Talks about Zeb going back to Lyrasan, and so on and so forth. And it just really covers a lot. And Rex being at the Battle of Endor. They said it, not me. It really all fills in there.
Yeah.
So it really, so from here out, so everything we had took place before that epilogue in these 2 episodes, which when I realized that and I'll be honest, I did not realize that till my second run through.
Yeah.
When my second run through, the switch flipped, and I went, "Holy smokes!" Because I recognized the scene,
Right.
but the light didn't go on. That everything we saw was what happened before that scene in Rebels. So it kind of filled in a little bit of the gap between Lothal and the liberation of Lothal and this. So
Yeah. I think there was some confusion by some people. So, right, us fans of Rebels, like going, wait, she has long hair, short hair. She had short hair in the epilogue, and then, like we said, we see her there with short hair, getting ready to go off with Ahsoka, just like the end of that epilogue. So I was like, okay, this is all fitting together nicely.
Oh, it truly is. It truly is, and it is fitting together quite good. Gosh, we got so much to talk about, dude. We got to take another break. Hang with us. We got so much more to talk about. Kevin Kiner, Chopper, Kevin Kiner, more Chopper. We got a lot to talk about. Hang with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Aaron and David, we're still here talking Ahsoka, and we appreciate you hanging with us. We got, holy smokes, so much to say, and I'm doing a whole bunch of word vomit all over y'all, and I love y'all, and I appreciate y'all for putting up with my ecstatic giddiness. We were talking about characters that we see in this throughout the thing, and I would be dismissed. I could spend the next hour talking about Chopper, so I'm going to try to avoid that, just because I know we have time constraints and people don't want to listen to a 4-hour episode, of which 25% is me talking about Chopper, because I could do it. But I feel dismissed if we don't talk a little bit about Baylan Skoll.
Oh yeah.
Of course, the late Ray Stevenson portrayed this, obviously a fallen Jedi. Hugh Wang recognizes his lightsaber as Baylan Skoll, as a Jedi who has been missing since Order 66. But we see we meet Baylan Skoll, and he, of course, says, "I'm no Jedi," and we see him throughout this episode with his Padawan, and he's definitely not a Jedi, but to me, he doesn't have the feel of a Sith either. He feels like he's somewhere in between. And he's trying to it's almost like he's lost and trying to regain something. Did you get that impression?
Yeah, that, and there's an inkling of respect for the Jedi. When he tells Morgan Elsbeth it's going to be a shame to kill Ahsoka. There's so few Jedi left. You get a sense, again, Filoni has confirmed that the lightsabers are orange to kind of put it, squarely in that unknown kind of area, not red lightsabers, not blue or green or purple. And the thing you get, and what I feel from both him and even Shin Hati, is definitely mercenaries for hire, right? But I do, beyond that, I get what you're saying. He doesn't seem, he's not, I don't think he believes that you can travel to another galaxy, right? He was kind of poo-pooing. These are children's dreams. These are, the road to Paradia, that as kids in the Jedi Temple. And, is that true or not? And so it seems like, does he have his sights set on power, you know. Hard to know. I mean, he obviously survived Order 66. We don't know how he and Shin Hati did that, but or depending on her age, you know, when was she born, how old is she now, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, there's a lot more to learn about this character. There's a lot more than just a mercenary, not a Jedi, not a Sith. I don't know, both sides, but yes, I do get that feeling.
Yeah, I feel I'm almost sound like Luke saying this, but I feel the conflict in him.
Yeah,
he's our antagonist, but is he truly a bad guy?
right.
Yes, he's making bad decisions. But I think there is more to the story than just him pursuing power. I think there's, and this is where your expertise comes into this. I think there is a lot of hurt from what happened in Order 66. I think there's a lot of mistrust. I don't think he didn't trust the Empire, obviously, because they were the ones hunting everybody down. But I also don't think he trusts the Republic either after the Republic turned on him. So at that point, I think he has no trust or love for the New Republic either.
Right.
So I think there is conflict within him that needs to be resolved. And I really hope that's something, and the fact that he has passed away, I hope, I really hate, because I really hope we see some resolution to that conflict, whether it is him fully giving in to either the dark side and becoming that evil person that he can be, or a redemption story.
Yeah, yeah, and you wonder if plans have shifted, have changed it because of his untimely death back in May, June, July, August, just a few months ago. I don't know. But I'm with you about the conflict. I do think about Anakin, right? Like I'll become powerful enough. I'll control everything, you know, and you know, if Baylan Skoll sees it, well, you know, the Empire, you know, ran roughshod over the Jedi because we were all blinded and arrogant, and then wow, now we see the Empire fall because this Republic comes through and takes them out. Maybe I just try for as much power as I can, and I'll run the show, not Jedi, not Sith, whatever, and maybe I can have my little fiefdom, and not only have Shin Hati, but other people who follow me, but deal with that conflict, that anxiety by like, well, let me become super powerful or as powerful as I can, and not even think about it. I'll just address it by taking over. So I don't know. It's one theory.
Yeah, and I like that, but I love the fact that you brought up Anakin too, because Anakin didn't turn to the dark side because he wanted power. He turned to the dark side because he needed the power to save the one he loved.
Yeah, that's right.
What is the motive? And then it comes to what is the motive behind Baylan Skoll's lust for power?
Right. And I think
is there a evil behind evil? The words aren't coming out. The word isn't coming out right. Caramas. Is there a malevolent intent behind it? Or is there something, or are his intentions good and he's going about it the wrong way, like Anakin did?
Yeah.
So it leaves a lot up there. So let's move on, because we got to talk about Kevin Kiner.
Yep.
Kevin Kiner, of course, is the brilliant composer who composed the soundtracks, of course, for the Clone Wars, for Resistance, for Rebels, and now for the Ahsoka series. And you can tell this is Kiner music. The themes that are being brought in are themes that we got from Ahsoka, from Rebels, themes that we got from Clone Wars. These are all themes that he wrote and he's bringing into his soundtrack for Ahsoka. And my word, if it is not the best soundtrack we have gotten since the Rebel series.
Yeah. Well, this is the stuff that made me cry. When he pulled in those themes, it's taking me back to Rebels and the scenes that affected me there. Back to the Clone Wars, end of season 5, when Ahsoka walks down the steps of the Jedi Temple and leaves Anakin in the Jedi Order, and the music that Kevin Kiner's playing. And I noticed, and I think this is your influence on me. Well, I know it is. As I'm listening, a lot of times I'm not as focused on the music. I'm focused on, dialogue, what's going on in the scene and it's exposition and stuff. But I really did listen to the music and the musical cues that he put into this. And, there's one time where you see Sabine's helmet and she's feeding the lost cat, and he puts in, I think it's her theme. And I just started to tear up, but he doesn't stay with it long, and throughout both episodes, just I loved it. I loved hearing those themes. And I guess we've got a theme for Sabine, a theme for Ahsoka. Mm-hmm. There's one for Ezra, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. And so I loved it. And plus, I could pick up on some classic John Williams sounds in there throughout both episodes. So yes, loved it, man.
Very good, very good. Yeah, he really hit it home for me. I believe it was said best by David Collins, who of course does a lot of sound editing for Lucasfilm, but also has his own podcast, the Soundtrack Show, where he studies movie soundtracks. And he said it best, where music is the breath of Star Wars. It really breathes life into the story being told. And you can't imagine Star Wars without its music, just like you can't imagine the music. You can't listen to the music without imagining Star Wars. And it really, when you look at music, you look at the John Williams soundtracks, you look at all these other composers. But to me, Kevin Kiner's work on the animated series and now on this series ranks right up there with the work John Williams has done.
Yeah.
On the series, are in the movies. So it is just as good, if not, I'm not going to say it's better because it's John Williams, but it is leaps and bounds better than anybody else that composes nowadays. John Williams is pretty much retired, not doing much. He comes out every once in a while and does a special piece here and there, but amongst your current composers, Kevin Kiner is the bomb diggity.
Well, it's time too, right? It's working on this stuff since the Clone Wars. It came out August of 2008, the Clone Wars movie that Aaron and I went over last episode. But, they were working on that 2 years prior. So Kevin Kiner's probably, since 2006, it's 2023. He's had all this time to work on Clone Wars, Rebels, and so on. And then when the music comes back around, there's this large library. And, just like with John Williams, with the larger library. And with time and these series, it gives him more and more, what do we say, credibility, more more of a whole sound a library that he has, and it's just great stuff. And so I think time has helped too, right? More and more time, right? Just like John Williams has had, so
Absolutely. It definitely makes a difference when you have that time to perfect, and as much as he's had to compose with the 7 seasons of Clone Wars, 4 seasons of Rebels, a season of Resistance, and now this Ahsoka series, he is, and that's just a Star Wars book of music. He has done so much more. He's really developed his craft quite well, and I am thrilled we're getting him back in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
Well, we got to keep going. We're running out of time, my friend. There's one thing I do want to hit on, because you and I talked about it via text on Tuesday night after we both watched the series, and then we ended up having a conversation today with our pal Gary about it, and we're talking mainly about the incident where, of course, Sabine gets run through in the abdomen with the lightsaber, and just like, Reva, just like the Grand Inquisitor, just like everybody else in Star Wars except Qui-Gon, she lives.
Right.
And of course, you and I, you brought that up Tuesday night as we were talking about how, it's trying to figure out how everybody else survives and not him, and not Qui-Gon, because it's very crazy about. And Gary messaged us this afternoon, I guess, or this evening, and I guess he had just watched it, and apparently it got to him too. And he made an interesting statement, and which expanded into a brief conversation the three of us had, talking about how when you look at where Sabine was stabbed, compared to Qui-Gon, physiologically, it makes sense. And of course, that immediately piqued my interest. And of course, for those of you who don't know our pal Gary, he is in the medical profession, so he has a good idea of what he's talking about. And he's like, he doesn't recall specifically, but he's pretty sure that Qui-Gon's wound was more midline, near or above the solar plexus, when he got stabbed by Maul in The Phantom Menace. He goes, that would mean that it most likely severed descending aorta, and he would have bled out fairly quickly, which would explain why he died so fast. Compared to Sabine, strike where she was stabbed would have been near the liver. And while this would have caused significant bleeding, it's not likely to lead to the level that Qui-Gon's was. Plus, care was rendered almost immediately because Ahsoka was right there.
Yeah.
Would just arrived on the scene when it happened, which I thought was quite. And once he explained that, I'm like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. You don't think about where people get stabbed. You're just like, okay, he got stabbed, she got stabbed, she survived. This person got stabbed, they survived. Qui-Gon got stabbed, he's dead. What? Why? And I love and Gary, I love you, brother. Thank you so much for messaging us earlier and bringing that up, because it makes perfect sense now that you described it, and I honestly don't have a problem with it anymore. It doesn't. I don't have a qualm about it anymore, and I'm grateful for that.
Well, listen, we've been asking Gary to come on again. He's been on with us before, back in the day. We want him back on, and this is another reason why he can help put Star Wars fans at ease. Plus, he's just a great guy. So, come on back on, Gary.
Yes, you are welcome anytime, my friend. Get back over here. Join us. We got cookies, and we're not the dark side. Anyhow, but I thought that was interesting to bring up, and because even my old soup stopped by my desk today to talk Ahsoka, and he even brought that up. So now I got something to talk to him when I see him again on Tuesday. And it'll be something we can discuss in the office again. But it was a good explanation, and I hope that helps some of y'all out there who may have been wrestling with the fact that, why did Sabine survive when Qui-Gon died? Location. I think we need to wrap this up, David.
Yeah.
Anything else you want that we did not talk about? And I know we didn't talk about Chopper, and I'm doing that on purpose because I could go for another hour. So I'm not giving in to my impulses of talking about Chopper. But anything else you want to talk about before we go into our closing final thoughts?
No. I think it's important, like you said, we could talk about Chopper to the cows come home, but to get through our final reactions, I do have the return of the psychology corner, so we want a little bit of time for that. We do have your dad joke of the week, so I'm ready to get to it.
All right, let's do it. Well, David, I'm going, since you got psychology corner coming up after this, I'm going to let you go first on closing thoughts.
Okay. Yeah. So let me do it. For me, I see these 2 episodes as not a good start, but a great start to Ahsoka. I don't know if any of our listeners felt this way or even picked up on it. It might not have been something purposeful by Filoni, but the first episode of this reminded me of episode 4, A New Hope, and that it started off relatively slow. Now, again, Aaron and I did talk about Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati coming aboard that ship, and it was cool. But, like in A New Hope, we have, the action at the front end there with the Tantive Eve, the Tantive 4 being attacked, and then it kind of going to the droids on Tatooine. So I'm telling you, it just started off relatively slow. And listen, in the years since A New Hope debuted, many a person has described how slow it started. I think here, I felt that way too, not complaining. I love, Aaron and I have said it, a lot of people, Empire's our favorite, A New Hope's our favorite. So I don't know, maybe I'm off on that. Maybe Dave Filoni was thinking that way. Not sure. But here, look, episode 1 ended strong and left us on a cliffhanger. And, that's the classic Saturday morning serials that my dad grew up with back in the day. You always got to end on a cliffhanger. And, I love that the episodes have a bunch of lightsaber action as well as Chopper being Chopper. I like that Morgan Elsbeth is a Night Sister. I want to see more of Hera. I'm hoping we get to see Jason Syndulla. Aaron had mentioned him before. We saw him in the epilogue where Sabine is talking at season 4 of Rebels. I want to see Jason Syndulla. Will Zeb, Kiribati make an appearance? Of course, we saw him, like Aaron said here, just a few months ago in when Mando season 3 was showing. I'm curious where season 1 will end. Aaron kind of was talking a bit about this being a miniseries. Will there be a season 2? We know there's been a lot of cuts at Disney. A lot of the stuff is getting pulled back. We don't know what that's going to entail. Aaron and I have talked about it a little bit related to, Skeleton Crew and other shows. What's going to happen? We don't know. But where will this end? Season 1, I'm curious. Will it be Ezra's found? Is Thrawn found? I mean, we do see a clip of Thrawn, but is that in, episode 8? And he mentions the First Order. They're going to start, amping up here. And will this season lead into the Filoni movie, or will there be that second season of Ahsoka needed to kind of flush this out the way that Filoni would like to? But again, all exciting things to think about. Those are just some of my final reactions. I could keep going, but let me bounce it over to you. What are your final reactions?
Oh man, it is. I don't think I can say more than what I've already said. This is, I think, the start of something wonderful. I think this was phenomenal. It was as close to perfect as you can get. I think that Dave Filoni hit a home run with this premiere. And I hope and pray that we keep this bar, that this set the bar that is going to get exceeded each week as we go. It is possible for that to happen. Traditionally, it doesn't happen in Star Wars, but I really hope we do because of what we're dealing with. It truly does feel like I came home when I watched this for the first time, and I got a feeling for the next 6 episodes that as they come out, each one of those are going to feel like I've come home as well, because it's new content. It felt like Star Wars. A lot of people are calling this the 5th season of Rebels, and I can understand why, because it felt like Rebels. And I know it's not going to feel like that all the way through because this is an Ahsoka series. But I got a feeling it's going to feel like that through the majority of the series. And I'm okay with that. I need that. I just hook it up to just go ahead and put in the IV and just start pumping it in. I need it. And I love what they've done. I love what we got. I cannot say enough awesome things about this because it really meant the world. And I wish I could be more eloquent with my thoughts. I wish I could compose them in a way because that I'm not tripping all over myself like I am right now, because this, just thinking about this still has me so worked up that I can't put 2 words together coherently, honestly. But this to me has meant the world. It was the premiere I wanted. It was the premiere I needed, and it was more than I could have ever imagined. And I if it was a girl, it's love at first sight. So let's keep going.
Nice.
Now we want to hear from you. Okay, we need to hear from you. We want to hear what you thought of these first 2 episodes, and we want to hear from you on what you think of the episodes going forward. And there are a lot of ways you can do that. You can hit us up on any of our social media. We Facebook and X, with the app formerly known as Twitter, both at SW Reactions Pod. We're on Instagram, Pinterest, and Tumblr, where you'll find our show notes at SW Reactions. All of those have open DMs. You can DM us your thoughts at any time, and we'll share them on the air. Of course, you have access to our email, swreactions@gmail.com. You can email us longer thoughts if you want there. Or, of course, we have our SpeakPipe account. You can leave a 90-second voicemail giving us your thoughts as well. That is speakpipe.com/Star Wars Reactions. And they are open and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Leave them for us. We'll share them. We would love to hear from you. So here's what we're going to do, David. We are going to take one more brief break.
Sure.
And when we come back, we will do your psychology corner. We will do we'll share how to get in contact with us. And we will end with our Star Wars Dad Joke of the Week. Hang with us one more time. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Star Wars Reactions. I'm Aaron. David's with me, and we are going to wrap everything up and get y'all on your way. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us for this episode as we discussed Ahsoka. And it is probably with the greatest pleasure that I get to introduce my co-host, David, as he brings back the Psychology Corner. David, my friend, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks, brother. Yeah, we brought it back. We had it. We've been on hiatus since Mando season 3. If our listeners listened to any of those episodes, hopefully you did. The theme I did for that Psychology Corner was mentoring. And again, as our listeners know, I've tried to have a theme to my Psychology Corners as we cover the different Disney Plus Star Wars series. It's just nice to have kind of a coherent subject and theme throughout it. And that's what I've tried to do here for the Ahsoka series. I wanted to get our listeners thinking about, again, a very light subject, the meaning of life. Not light at all. So that, going from mentoring over to this subject. Now, listen, I have periodically discussed this issue in previous Psychology Corners here and there. But for this coverage, I wanted to dive in deeper and really get people really thinking about this critically important subject. And why do I say this? Because, many times, people never think about the meaning of life. And I've found that, people are typically forced to think about it if something drastic or life-altering happens. For example, we contract a deadly illness like certain forms of cancer. We lose a parent or parents. We lose a child. We lose a spouse, or we lose a job. You name it. And I've learned from my clients. I'm coming up on 31 years of individual therapy. September of 92, and now it's coming up on September of 2023. Excuse me. And what I've learned from my clients is how important it is to have given some thought and look, and maybe even come to a conclusion on the meaning of life before those life-changing events. It's always harder to do stuff, when stuff hits us, when we're under pressure. It's like, that's why we always, athletes, you practice, so that when you're under the pressure of a game, it's not you're thinking about it, you react naturally. So we want to get people thinking about it. So let's help our listeners out by thinking about and discussing the meaning of life. So I'll start with the question I've asked most of my clients over the years, and our listeners have heard me mention this question before, but let's lay it out here again. And I always say, this is not me lobbing up a softball. This is me. I'm a professional baseball player, and I'm trying to throw smoke right past your bat, which is you're whiffing right past it. But we want you to hit this one. We want you to hit this ball. But the question is, why were you born? And again, over the years, I've had a lot of people struggle with that. They don't immediately know it, but that's okay. We're going to get people thinking about this. Now, look, just like Sabine with a lightsaber through the gut and Filoni rolls at the credits, I'm going to leave all of you with that question to think about, right? We'll leave a cliffhanger. Really give it some thought, okay? And I don't want to answer it quickly for you. My professors in grad school, and I've mentioned this before, they were pretty consistent about this. They said, listen, you were spoon-fed in undergrad, right? In grad school, you need to think for yourselves and have critical thinking skills. So I want our listeners to think. I don't want to immediately answer it for them. So again, I want our listeners to use their brains, think about this question. And just like Aaron mentioned a few minutes ago, please send your thoughts into our SpeakPipe app, email the show, a tweet, my Facebook, any of our socials. And, I'll share them on the next show with your permission. You might say, yes, please share it, but don't use my name. Whatever you prefer, that'd be great. But I'd really love to get people involved with this and have some give and take. So please feel safe to send it in. Again, if you don't want me to use your name, say that. But if you want me to, I'll be more than happy to do that. So there we go, Aaron. We're off and running with a new Psychology Corner theme for this Ahsoka series.
I absolutely love it. This is going to be an awesome theme. I cannot wait to hear what you have to say each week. This is going to be awesome because it's something that we wrestle with every day, and it's honestly something that we see. Why am I here? What am I doing? And we see that we see Sabine somewhat wrestling with that in this series, and I love how you're incorporating that. This is going to be so much fun.
Nice.
So.
Yep.
All right. Well, if somebody wants to talk to you, David, either about Star Wars or about your Psychology Corner or anything in general, how would they go about doing that, my friend?
Absolutely. Like we said, we mentioned the socials. Mine is Twitter X. I guess I'm going to start calling that Twitter X. It's never changed. It's at David_Modders, Modders. Obviously, Instagram. Just look up my name, and those are the two best ways to do it. Or, like Aaron said, you can throw something through some of the other socials. He'll get it to me.
Absolutely, always do. So, for me, the best way to get a hold of me is through. This is really fun. I could say the best way to get through with me is to get in touch with me is through my ex.
Through my ex.
That is not my dad joke of the week, but it works. Message me through my ex. I'll get it. Of course, X being the app formerly known as Twitter. That's how I'm going to introduce this from now on. You can message me through my ex at TAHarris121070. Oh my gosh. Caramass. TAHarris121079 on X, formerly known as Twitter. Definitely let us know there what you got there. The best way to get a hold of me there. Or of course, I'm always online through our social media stuff, so I get all that coming to my phone as well. So, yeah, let me know. Oh, David, it's about that time, brother.
Let's cap it off here.
Cap it off. It is time for this week's Star Wars dad joke. So, brother, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. David, what is a Rancor's favorite candy?
I don't know, but I actually do want to know. Well, what is a Rancor's favorite candy?
Jawa breakers.
Oh my God. That's bad. Oh my gosh. Jawbreakers.
The best part is when you bite into them, they got a little Jawa juice inside.
Oh. I'm glad you cracked yourself.
Utini.
Everybody.
Jawa breakers. Here we go. David, my friend, I have had a blast.
This has been a lot of fun, buddy.
A lot of fun. And we are going to be back with the third episode of Ahsoka next week. So be ready for that. A lot of great things coming. It's going to be awesome. So just hang with us. We will have a great time. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Y'all are incredible. We love y'all. Y'all are the best. We're praying for y'all each day. Just take it easy. Take care of each other. Be nice to somebody. Strangers on the street. Be nice to a stranger on the street. Make their day. Change their life. You'll never know how good that'll make them feel or how good it'll make you feel. So remember, this is your place for elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
If you'd like to share your thoughts, you can email us at show@starwarsreactions.com for our show notes and the latest news from the Star Wars universe. Visit our website at www.starwarsreactions.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at SWReactionsPod or on Facebook at Star Wars Reactions. If you enjoy our show, please leave a review on iTunes. This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or by Lucasfilm Limited. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars. All names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and the respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Star Wars Reactions unless otherwise indicated. Star Wars Reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.